Maybe we've been practicing taking on your partner's perspective and it's not coming easily. Don't worry, we'll keep working on it. Or maybe I'm not really your therapist and you're just here to get my take on these Reddit relationship stories. My boyfriend, 28, faked a proposal to me, female 28, and shut down completely after I asked him what was funny about it. Just like the title says, we were playing cards last night, and while he was putting away the cards into the box, he asked me to close my eyes for a surprise. I did. He snuck my favorite ring into the box and gave it to me. I opened it, saw it, rolled my eyes, and he thought it was very funny. He's also faked other proposals in the past, when bending down to tie shoelaces, etc. I'd say about 4 or 5 times in total. Important context is that neither of us want to get married, so it is very obviously a joke. Alright, coming into this cold and giving the partner the most generous, benefit of the doubt, I wonder if a part of him actually is, curious about getting married, and this is his way of testing the waters. I'm just imagining the way that people will start joking about anything that they're actually wondering how the other person feels about. He got really ruffled when I asked him to explain what was funny about it. My goal with this was either to be in on the joke so I could laugh with him, or to ask him to stop because it feels slightly humiliating. I pressed him further when he didn't really answer my questions, and he said he didn't like to put much thought into it. My feelings towards it are weird. I feel like I'm the butt of a joke and not like we are joking around together. I don't feel like I'm in on the joke or understanding it in any way. My worst fear is that he will fake a proposal around other people and I'll end up in a really awkward situation. I tried to explain this, but my partner has a habit of shutting down when I bring problems to him. He also got really offended when I told him that worst fear, saying, "How could you think I would do that?" I feel kinda gaslit. Has anyone ever dealt with this before? It's caused a pretty serious argument. He's shut down entirely and hasn't spoken to me since yesterday. What the hell do I do? I always find it really interesting when couples have a conflict that spans several days and they sustain the same level of emotion around the problem. It almost implies a level of intentionality, they are reminding themselves what they're upset about and bringing themselves down that mental rabbit hole over and over. And I think that can happen more automatically for different people, but it just is interesting when you see it. Now, I could definitely be reading too much into this. That's really easy to do when all you have is a Reddit story to go off of. But with the avoidance that OP says her partner has in general, I just wonder if he's so conflict avoidant that he won't say that he actually would like to get married. I could imagine this on the other end of the spectrum too. Maybe he really doesn't want to get married and he's kind of testing whether his partner's opinions have changed. And this is just another example of why it's so helpful to get your distress tolerance up and implement coping skills so you can have difficult or uncomfortable conversations with people. Quote, "My partner has a habit of shutting down when I bring problems to him. This is the big problem here. He is almost 30. Why can't he solve problems like an adult? What if something big and really bad happens? Accidental pregnancy, death in the family, accident, etc., etc. Are you left to fend for yourself? Also, I'm not sure if this is shutting down or silent treatment. One needs a therapist, the other is a common form of emotional abuse." Yup, first, he doesn't seem to care that you don't like this. Second, he shuts down instead of communicating, listening, and problem solving with you. Not ready to be in a relationship. Exactly. How are you supposed to adult together if he just disappears every time something real comes up? I feel like every serious convo would need a search party first. Not saying he is a narcissist, but this is how narcissists or people who are narcissistic keep their victims by guilting them when there's a problem with their behavior. They victimize themselves and the real victim ends up apologizing. Don't fall for it, OP. OP, you can do much better than a man who enjoys humiliating you. He does not respect you. I don't think we even have enough information to say whether or not this little prank is meant to be malicious, never mind if it's a part of narcissistic abuse. And it sounds like OP was telling her partner that this bothered her or that she wanted more information about it for the first time. I don't think based on what was said that this is a conversation they're having over and over. So it sounds like he could just be having a really poor reaction to her telling him that, which could be happening for any number of reasons. Make yourself a part of the joke. Every time he goes to fake propose, just act embarrassed and reject him. Oh no, please, I would never marry you. Can't believe you're proposing when you know my answer is never. Turn it around and embarrass him instead. Bonus points if people are around. I think that is a great approach. You know, if this really is fully a joke, if there's no subtext there, why not just do a funny bit in response? This is so good. Start a flustered speech like, "You're a nice guy, but not really the kind someone would spend their life with. Like, you're still so immature and that doesn't really make you a catch. I'm so sorry. This must feel awful. I'm really flattered by all of this." Yeah, again, if OP can feel fully confident that this is just a joke, I think that that's a flawless response. The only risk there is that he actually is having some feelings about wanting to get married, and then that would obviously hurt even more. And obviously, we usually don't want to hurt our partners, even if they're not doing everything perfectly or communicating perfectly. Like, of course, it's his responsibility to be direct if that's what he's feeling, but I'm sure if OP thinks that's a possibility, she'll probably want to be more gentle. Are you absolutely sure your boyfriend doesn't want to get married? This sounds to me like a weirdly passive-aggressive way to start that conversational ball rolling again, without having to be the first one to say anything different than what you both said in the past about marriage not being an option. It's telling that he just shuts down and pouts when you ask him what's the point because you don't see the humor. The next time that it happens, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna happen, ask him, "What if I pretended your fake proposal was real? Would you want me to say yes? Are you thinking differently about marriage these days?" Of course, if you are still strongly opposed to getting married while he has changed his mind, that will be a difficult conversation. It might even end the relationship. Maybe that's why he doesn't dare to say the actual words and instead keeps creating weird performance art pieces around it. That's exactly what I was thinking about it. If you are having communication issues like that, it's a really good problem to bring to therapy because you don't want it to go on in this ambiguous space for years instead of being able to speak directly about whatever you're trying to say. I, 34 male, am jealous of my 35 female wife's coworkers. How to overcome it. This has been going on for about 6 months and is eating me alive, and it has the potential to ruin our marriage. We've been together for 17 years, married for 7, and have 3 daughters. I was never an insecure guy until she started hanging out with female and male coworkers. She didn't go out that much, but neither have I. She started working about 2 years ago, and nothing particularly changed up until she started hanging out with female coworkers. I had no problem with it. She started going out more frequently, and while I was a bit jealous as we don't spend that much time together due to both working and taking care of kids, she used to go out maybe 2 times a month over the weekend with female friends. Nothing special, they would go out to a cafe and get some drinks. Right off the bat, OP feeling jealous about his wife seeing female friends a couple of times a month is a red flag, and it sounds like there's this scarcity mindset happening of we already don't see each other enough. But it is so good and nourishing and healthy to have other friendships outside of your relationship. I wonder if OP has a lot of trouble making friends, if maybe he struggles to be alone when his wife is out with friends. It's so interesting that he said, "I had no problem with it, but I was jealous." Some things changed at her work. The other office complained about their boss, and upper management switched bosses with my wife's office and that other office. So over time, my wife's coworkers and the other office coworkers connected over that too. My wife's office has mostly females and that other office has mostly males. So they went out to grab drinks and meet maybe 6 months ago, and my wife told me about that. I never thought I would be that jealous, but apparently I am. I got jealous but didn't say anything. Then they started going out maybe once a month, which involved clubs, drinks, etc. But I think it's important to mention that I always trusted my wife. She never drinks too much, maybe 2 to 3 glasses of wine. And her background is that she lost both of her parents young, so I know that family is important to her and she would never cheat. She might fall out of love and break up with me, but I'm sure she would never cheat. So I didn't say anything when they started going out. I wanted her to vent after work, have a good time, and enjoy some time without the kids. Then they created a WhatsApp group, and they chat there almost through the entire day. Whenever I send her a message on WhatsApp, I see that she was online a few minutes ago. I know that doesn't mean she is typing, but she opens their chat while she doesn't open mine. Oh, I'm really not familiar with WhatsApp. Is that how it works? If you have a WhatsApp, let me know. Is it possible that it's just showing her online when she's on other apps? So that started bothering me a lot. I can send her a few messages within a couple of hours and she doesn't reply or open them, but she is on WhatsApp. I started feeling very angry at her, but not saying anything. We started fighting, but overall we smoothed things out. I keep telling myself it's okay to have male friends, and all of them are married and have kids. Also, I snooped through her phone once and saw nothing. All messages were jokes, talk about work, etc. But she does spend a lot of time on her phone chatting with them. Last night, they went out and it bothered me that she didn't send a single message the entire night until they were waiting for their taxi to come home. So one of the female workers is pregnant and went to the hospital because she was having pains. And it really bothered me that they kept chatting until 4 a.m. I woke up early and checked her phone, and they were all chatting with that female coworker. But it didn't stop. She spends the entire day on her phone. Now she's talking on the phone with other female coworkers. The thing is that this bothers me to a level where I am not happy. I don't talk to my wife, I kind of avoid her, and we keep distancing. All I need is to spend some time with her. I tried communicating, but she just keeps her guard up and says that I'm suffocating her. I tried online therapy, ChatGPT, but I'm losing my mind for the last 6 years. I somehow think I'm not important to her, and I'm worried that she will cheat on me and that will ruin us. I keep telling myself that she loves me, which she does. She initiates intimacy, we go out, but whenever she's on the phone, I think, oh, she's chatting with them, and my stomach hurts. How to overcome this, become more secure and happy? Was anyone in a similar situation? Any advice helps. This is the level of insecurity that's underneath a lot of toxic and controlling partners. It sounds like a lot of the problem is that OP and his wife aren't connecting, and that's probably because he's hostile towards her when she's not doing anything wrong. It really stands out to me that he said that he tried online therapy, ChatGPT. I don't know if he's saying online therapy and then ChatGPT, but please be so careful trying to use ChatGPT for something like this. We talked about this in the My Boyfriend is AI video, but the way a lot of those programs work is basically by predicting and mirroring what you want to hear, because a lot of the time that's what will help them be used the most. So they're just going to reinforce whatever you think is happening. So there's a huge risk of them reinforcing things or saying things that aren't true or helpful just because they've predicted it's what you would want to hear the most. I'm sure there are ways outside of therapy. Not everyone has access to therapy, but it sounds like OP does. So I think finding another therapist, maybe one that you connect with more, is really important here. Therapists are not one size fits all, and it's a field where it uniquely matters how much you connect to your provider, because that really influences how comfortable you feel, how much you're able to open up and take in new information from them. So if I were OP, I would try another therapist or two and really work on building up your self-esteem and your comfort with yourself. Quote, I somehow think I'm not important to her and worry she will cheat on me, and I'm worried that will ruin us. This behavior is what will ruin you. I think you are used to having your wife all to yourself, and now that she has people outside the marriage, which is very healthy, you are starting to see how dependent you are on her to fulfill all your needs, which is not healthy. It's hard to fix issues when you are blind to them. I think that's a great point, that this is maybe highlighting some emotional dependence on this wife. No one person is meant to meet all of our emotional and social needs. They're just not. We're meant to interact with other people, to grow and change. And when you don't, and you put all of those needs and expectations onto one person, a lot of issues can start bubbling up. OP said, yes, I'm trying to look at this from all sides. While I know it's healthy for her to have friends, and I always supported that, on the other side, I feel like she's spending less time with me and that I'm becoming less important to her. I feel like I'm always there for her for anything she needs, but when I need her, she will reply whenever it's convenient for her. Yes, because she isn't enmeshed and dependent on you to feel okay. You are codependent on her. You need to learn to feel important to yourself and be an autonomous person. Time to grow up. Yeah, I think OP and his wife could have a conversation about the amount of time she's spending on the phone or about answering his texts, but your partner has chosen to build their life with you, and ideally you can feel secure in that fact. Have them as your home base and be able to invest more into that relationship, quality over quantity, and then also branch out and go form other connections and then come back. At one point you say you aren't worried about her cheating on you and you trust her, and at the end you say you are worried about her cheating on you. And initially you said this started 2 years ago when she was working, but then again at the end you said you've been losing your mind for the last 6 years. Anyway, it's not unreasonable or unexpected for her to be on the phone with a coworker who's in the hospital for pregnancy-related issues, especially since your wife has been pregnant before. I'm sure she's been very comforting to her poor coworker. OP says, yes, I'm sure she won't cheat on me, but my mind is like a million flies buzzing, and while I I trust her, I'm worried that my feelings will make her go away, which would result in cheating. Talk about creating your own problems, huh? And yes, it's totally fine that they were all chatting with pregnant coworker, but if she's on the phone and doesn't say anything the entire night, it keeps you thinking, who is she chatting with? In the morning, she was like, we chatted with her, she's in the hospital. Well, I don't know a single thing. I said, you never told me she's in the hospital. And she was like, oh, I didn't. I assumed they were all chatting about the night they had, joking, and it hurt me because I didn't see her properly the entire week due to her work, my work, kids, and she spent hours on her phone and didn't chat with me. Yeah, again, probably because you're cranky and unpleasant and probably don't make her feel very good because of these very problems that OP is creating for himself. I think if you ever find yourself feeling this level of insecure, you need to shift more focus onto yourself and onto building up the things that you like about yourself instead of focusing on whatever you think you lack and assuming other people are better than you in some way. First of all, it can build your self-esteem up enough that you don't assume that your partner would just trade their life with you away. And then on a deeper level, as you keep working on it, you can eventually feel the confidence that even if your partner somehow one day betrayed you or left you, you will still be okay. You're still a whole and actual person. I don't think you need marriage counseling. I think you need individual counseling to work on your insecurities. Otherwise, you will drive her away. I promise you that will happen eventually. You are far too obsessed with her texting habits to friends, and you do seem a bit suffocating. The crux of this is that you on some deeper level don't think you are enough for her because of your own insecurities. So you see her socializing as spending her energy on people who are more worth her time than you are. You need to work on your self-esteem. I did, and we are much happier for it. Everything changed when I took my foot off the gas and allowed everything to just be. OP said, I'm trying, I really am, but I fail after a few days. And this commenter said, takes more than a few days. First step is to recognize you are the problem and stop projecting it onto her. You will lose her, mate. Act now and seek help. OP said, I tried online therapy and it didn't work out. And this commenter says, you haven't done it for long enough. It's okay, you choose to lose her. That's your choice. Stop waiting for something to happen. This is all you. Ouch, the harsh truth. That is kind of what it comes down to, right? If you find yourself in a position like that, you end up having to choose your hard. Again, it sounds like this person has the option of therapy. Are you going to go through the work of finding a therapist that works for you or the work of a divorce? Are you going to put in more serious energy and work into changing your thoughts and behaviors, or are you going to keep lashing out until you've pushed your partner fully away? I walked away from a date because he expected me to pay. Am I overreacting? I, 21 female, met a guy, 22 male, at work a couple months ago, and over time we got kinda close. It was obvious that he likes me and I liked him too. We've gone to some places together but never really called it a date. However, last week he said he'd like to take me somewhere and that it's a surprise. I said, okay, sure, and he said he'll pick me up at the train station at X time. I live a bit further away. Now, it still wasn't said out loud that it's a date, but come on, isn't it obvious? So we meet. He drives us there, and the place he picked is a sort of botanical garden. Sorry, I'm not sure about the correct English word. I'm picturing a botanical garden, which, as you may have guessed from all my plants, is a place I love to go. I was really hyped because I love nature. We go to the ticket desk, and he says, go ahead. So I'm confused and I ask what he means. He says that since he drove us there, I should pay for the tickets. At this point, my jaw drops and he notices my reaction and corrects himself, saying that he'll pay for his own ticket. I didn't say anything. I just turned around and walked away, heading for the nearest bus stop to go home. He tried to come after me apologizing, but I told him to leave me alone. To be clear, normally I have no problem paying on dates or programs. All my exes were broke and I paid for everything. I never had a problem with it. However, in this situation, he was the one who invited me to a surprise location, so I think expecting me to pay for a program I didn't even know about is really rude. I'm still skeptical though, because I've never been in such a situation, and I don't know what's common practice. Am I overreacting? Wow, I wish I knew if he was actually trying to say that she should pay for both of the tickets at first. It sounds like this is getting into dating etiquette in another country, so I'm totally out of my depth. But I feel like from what I do know, it really depends on the person, whether or not they expect to pay if they invited you somewhere, and I think you should always be prepared to pay for yourself, ideally. I don't know if at first he was genuinely expecting her to pay for him. If so, it's like a reversal of a lot of typical gender norms in dating in the US. this, but without the added dynamic of women usually making more money. But it is a little funny in that way because it is like very presumptuous to assume that someone you're going on a date with is going to pay for you. I don't know. I don't think it's that crazy to expect someone to get their own ticket to something unless you really know that they are struggling financially. But ideally, you'd let them know in advance that they're going to be spending a little bit of money. If you were expected to pay, then he should have explained everything about the date ahead of time. Why would he expect you to pay for a place that you had no knowledge of? His idea overall. And to expect you to initially pay for both, yeah, he deserved to watch you walk away. Yeah, like what? Here's the surprise activity that you're paying for. That was the actual surprise. Pay for my experience at X location and I guess you can accompany me. LOL. I don't know about narcissistic, but this is textbook pickup / manosphere. Make sure she isn't a gold digger bullshit. He was absolutely testing her. People are incredibly comfortable throwing out narcissist online. Not everybody who's been tricked by bad advice on the manosphere is a narcissist, but it is possible something like that could be going on here. Yes, Paul, she's a gold digger. You work part-time at Pizza Hut and don't have a car, but yeah, you showed her. So he told you he wanted to take you out and that he was planning a surprise, and then he sprung it on you that he expected you to pay. Not overreacting. I would have walked too. Good on you for standing your ground. Maybe paying for both of them was the surprise. He was surprised testing her and it backfired on him, thankfully. Yeah, seems like red pill testing. I wouldn't even invite a friend somewhere as a surprise and then tell them to pay. Surprise, this is the courthouse. I have outstanding parking tickets. Okay, go ahead. I drove us here. What a gentleman. What a date. Not overreacting. This is shitty even if it wasn't a date, but just a platonic outing with a friend. You just don't put people on the spot to spend money without preparation or warning. It's rude and disrespectful. He invited you, didn't tell you where you would be going, and then expected you to pay for something you didn't choose. If you want to whisk someone away on a mystery date, at least pay for it yourself. Otherwise, just say, hey, I was thinking we could go to blank place together. The tickets are blank. Are you interested? I could drive. We split the tickets and then we grab something to eat there, my treat. It's okay to not pay 100% for every outing, but you have to set expectations ahead of time and not decide on your own when and where other people are supposed to spend their money without telling them. I hear you. I also think that OP could have asked. Unless I specifically am going like on a hike with someone or to the beach or to a park, I assume there's a possibility that I might have to spend some money. I'm not dating, I don't know for sure, but it seems like that could be a setup for a lot of miscommunication. The expectation that if somebody suggests going somewhere or invites you somewhere, then they're paying. I think wherever possible, you should be prepared to pay for yourself. My crush on a Smosh cast member has grown so intense, it's making me question my relationship. I don't know much about Smosh. All I know is that Good Mythical Morning bought them for a period of time, but already I'm locked in. I, 35 male, first heard of Smosh during lockdown. I never really watched YouTube, so I had no idea that it was a channel that went back to the early days. But I had a lot of time to kill during that era, and there's only so many hours a day that you can spend binging shows. I watched it sporadically, mixed in with a bunch of other content, and for a while, I didn't even know the cast members' names because videos were so few and far between. Somewhat recently, I've started watching a lot more Smosh, like probably a dozen hours a week. I guess it was because I kept seeing folks from the channel turn up on Dropout, e.g. Dirty Laundry, and I got to know them and their personalities better. Not only do I know all their names now, but I have a parasocial fondness for all of them. I even started to feel the symptoms of a crush for one particular cast member. Being lazy, I'll call them A. This isn't uncommon. I frequently develop what might be called crushes on comedians and content creators. Usually it's mild and it fades after a few weeks, so I never worry about it. I tend to think that it's more about admiration than actual romantic desire. Have you ever heard the theory that when you have a sex dream about somebody, it most likely means that they have a characteristic you wish you could acquire for yourself? No, I've never heard that, and it sounds like one of those out there theories that you just posit that there's no proof for. I'm pretty sure sex dreams can mean a lot of different things, and every interpretation is just going to be your best guess, but that's funny. I think this operates on the same principle. The people that I crush on possess a golden trinity of personality traits. 1, compassionate, 2, smart, and 3, an uncompromisingly silly sense of humor. I'm very reserved and shy, so women who are boisterous but kind, not bullying, have always been my type, and I think it's because I wish I had the strength to be myself in such a confident and unapologetic way. My brain experiences this through classic crush symptoms. I thought this was what was going on with A. After a while, the butterflies in my stomach sensation faded when I had seen them enough in videos, and I figured I had made it to the admiration only stage. Here's the problem. I proposed to my girlfriend, 35 female, last month, and ever since then, my crush on A has really flared up, to the point where I almost feel like I'm emotionally cheating. I'm talking pathetic, cringeworthy thoughts you couldn't give me $1 million to tell people about without anonymity. I'm talking projecting myself into TNTL videos and trying to imagine how I would make A laugh. I'm talking sitting on the couch with them during Reddit stories and dazzling them with my emotional intelligence and wit. I'm talking one-on-one conversations with them on Smosh Mouth where I tease them affectionately and then tell them earnestly how I think they make the world a better place. Oh my god. I don't follow A on social media, but I lurk on the Smosh subreddit where screenshots and Instagram posts and TikToks of theirs are frequently reposted. Fun stuff, silly stuff, stuff where they look so beautiful it makes my heart hurt. Well, I'll tell ya, I think at a point like this, you've got to put the phone down. You've got to go suffer through some other less preferred content for a while and give yourself a break. I feel like this is a kind of limerence, like imagining all these interactions, especially with this person you don't actually know. All you know is A's public-facing persona. Imagining yourself in all these scenarios with them where you are actually making yourself look better. I feel like maybe that's how it connects back to the proposal. Like there's a fear there about his partner really knowing him. So imagining being able to show A this like funny, kind side of him might be really tempting, but it sounds like it's gotten very compulsive and he needs a break. To be honest, I hate this. I hate thinking about it all the time. When I'm falling asleep, when I'm going on walks, when I'm at my mind-numbing job. I hate imagining what A's reaction would be if they knew some strange guy they'd never met thought this way about them. I feel like a creep. I love my fiance. I've never had the desire to break up with her, and I still don't. My fiance is the sweetest, kindest, most supportive person I've ever met. She's generous, she's original, she's creative. We have the same goals and belief. We're both great at communicating and almost never fight. We spend a lot of time together pursuing shared interests, but we also have independent lives. It's as healthy as I believe it's possible for our relationship to be. I honestly started crying last month because there's so much death in the news and I kept imagining getting told that she had died or been taken away from me. So if I'm not feeling unfulfilled in any aspect of our relationship, why do I have such intense feelings for another woman? To be clear, I'm not delusional. I'm not planning on driving my sedan 20 plus hours across the country to track down Smosh headquarters so I can profess my love. Okay, I don't even love that he's thought through the details of that, but let's hear him out. If I saw A on the street, I wouldn't even let on that I recognized her. I'm also aware that public figures only present certain dimensions of their personalities, so falling for their persona is no indication that you'd be compatible in real life. Real life relationships are messy and complicated and take a lot of work, and the appeal of fantasizing about a relationship that will never happen is that you don't have to take all the messy stuff into account. But that voice in your head, the one where you can't figure out if it's telling the truth or just trying to make you paranoid so you sabotage yourself, is whispering that I don't really want to get married, that I should drop everything and move out and change careers and be single again. One possible factor in my infatuation with A is that I'm a little afraid of commitment. My parents fought constantly. I spent high school wishing that they would get divorced. My mom would sometimes drag me into fights to use against my dad, even without my trying to get involved at all. In my adult life, I found myself in relationships where I was repeating their dynamic, and it scared the hell out of me to realize it. I don't believe my fiance possesses any of my mom's toxic qualities, and I've learned to be less of a people-pleasing pushover like my dad was. I wonder if proposing to my fiance and making our relationship suddenly real and inescapable after a decade of dating and always having an escape hatch is causing my brain to panic and activate this fantasy life with a Walter Mitty intensity. I have no plans to cancel the wedding, but I do keep thinking, well, divorce is a thing if it comes to that. And that feels like a bad thing to think when you're supposed to be excited about signifying your eternal devotion to the love of your life. I sometimes feel perfectly happy and content, and sometimes I feel suffocated, like I'm wasting my life on this planet planet and there's another person out there who would make me happier. I'm also thinking about how much trouble it would be to break up, how much the people in my family would hate me if I left my fiance. They all agree that she's the best thing that ever happened to me, and they've told me repeatedly that I better treat her right. Sometimes I think they like her more than they like me. I truly don't think they'd support me at all if I decided to back out of the marriage. I'm not sure what's going on. Am I choosing the path of least resistance by staying with my fiance? Or am I rightfully ignoring baseless thoughts that would lead to a lot of trouble and potentially ruining my life and leaving me unhappy and alone if I gave them any credence? I doubt this is going to blow up. I might not even check back for replies. I really did just want to get this off my chest. But just in case I have to say it, don't try to make anybody at Smosh aware of this post. I don't want to make anyone there feel threatened or weirded out. I feel like even as he's writing the post, there's a part of him like living in that fantasy of, ooh, A might see it and this is what I think about us actually getting into a relationship. I think based on everything he's told us, it's a lot more likely that he's on the right path thinking that this is just like an overreaction to commitment. It sounds a little bit like classic cold feet with a weird twist. I think as long as you love your partner and feel good with your partner, the rest of this is just you feeding into thoughts and fantasies that are driving a wedge between you guys. I think people entertaining the thought that there might always be something better is corrosive to a lot of relationships these days. Like, we're exposed to so many more humans and human personalities than ever before with social media and even just like the pace of traditional media. And it's like the idea that the grass is always greener when it's greener where you water it. I think that there are a lot of awesome parts of being with someone long term and really getting to know each other on a really deep level, growing together, building a life together, that is just easy to miss out on if you constantly think that there might be someone better out there. So I think if you're in that kind of a relationship, you don't have to keep entertaining those kind of thoughts. You chose your person and you keep choosing them. But it is true that divorce is a thing if it comes to that. Like, if OP is just feeling so scared shitless about the commitment of being with this one person forever, you don't want to feel trapped. You want it to actually be a choice to be with your partner, right? I got halfway through this and thought, this is someone who should definitely delete social media. I have no experience with what you are going through, but it's obvious that your online life is affecting your real one. Cut yourself off from A content and live in the real world. People are doing it in droves, and for some, it's a very good idea. Yeah, I honestly don't think that that is a bad idea. As the age-old advice goes, go touch some grass. But seriously, obviously your idealized version of A that's not really helpful for you figuring anything out about your relationship anyway. Live in your real world, spend time in nature, spend time with your fiance, and then check back in with yourself once that crush fades. Hey, I don't know you at all beyond what you've posted, so take this with that in mind. I work in adult mental health as a clinician and have been doing this work for 25 years. What you are describing does not sound like a crush. It sounds like an obsession and compulsion beyond your control. In clinical terms, these are intrusive thoughts you're having, and a lot of tricky mental health problems first emerge as these unwanted thoughts that we can't distract, rationalize, or redirect ourselves from. I'm not telling you that you have a mental illness, but I strongly encourage you to speak to a mental health professional. I don't know which country you're in. I'm in Australia, so the access would be different. And tell them that you are having intrusive thoughts that you can't stop or control, and that they are eating into big parts of your day and interfering with your interpersonal relationships. That should get their attention, and I'll stress to you that there is medication that is extremely effective for these types of symptoms and is used broadly with very few side effects. Good luck, mate. I honestly could have written this and am, in fact, experiencing this currently in my life. I'm not engaged, but I'm in a committed, serious relationship. And I was diagnosed with OCD a few years ago. I bring up my diagnosis because now I understand that what I'm currently experiencing is due to my OCD. Knowing this about myself doesn't make the intrusive thoughts and feelings go away, but it does help me understand why they're happening, and that helps make it all feel more manageable. I would suggest seeking out a mental health professional, and I say that with love as someone who completely relates to your situation. Good luck to you. Well, those are some really sweet comments that bring up a good point. It definitely could be OCD related. And regardless of exactly why this obsession or rumination is happening, I think speaking to a therapist about it can always be a good idea. I totally get where you're coming from. It's like your crush on A isn't about you wanting to leave your girl, but more about exploring that part of yourself that you admire. But for real, if you're vibing with your fiance, don't let a crush mess with your head. Just keep communicating with her and focus on what you've built together. That's the real treasure here. That is some great advice. And regardless of exactly what's going on here, if OP can cut himself off from A content, I think that will help. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and I will see you in the next one.